everybody, it's Deborah, and I am finally back here to record a regular episode with Willie of Diary of a Physicist Farmgal. I live here on my family farm in the foothills of the Arkansas Ozarks, where I like to do all the crafts. I knit, I crochet, I sew, I quilt, I make baskets, I make jewelry. I'll try any craft once and twice if I like it. I'm also a university professor at a local comprehensive regional university where I teach courses to physics majors and general education majors. I am a docent at our planetarium, and I also am very involved in our Center for Excellence in Teaching and Academic Leadership, and we're getting ready to do our Summer Teaching Excellence Institute in about a week. So getting all the stuff ready for that. And I am a farmer. I am a third generation family farmer here on this land that my family's lived on for over a century. I raise grass-fed beef cattle, and I have horses, and I have a retirement herd of miniature horses, miniature donkeys, a miniature mule named Pumpkin who thinks she rules the roost, and Princess Penny the potbelly pig. And you'll notice I didn't talk about any rabbits or any chickens or geese because I let those go to my friend Tamara. It was time to change focus a little bit. And as you can tell from my sweet little co-host Willie here, I am fur kid mom to several dogs and cats and a few outside barn cats. So if any or of all of that sounds interesting to you, I hope you'll join me on episode whatever this is of Diary of a Physicist Farmgal. Okay, if you're looking for us on social media, you can find me on Instagram and on Ravelry as Doc Firewoman. You can also find a Facebook group for the podcast Diary of a Physicist Farmgal, where you can post pictures of your makes and things like that. I do have a Ravelry group. It's not very active, but I do have a Ravelry group. And you can find my farm Facebook page at Buckthorn Farms on Facebook. So that's where you can find me. I have a Google form that you can fill out for when I do giveaways and such. And I do have a giveaway I need to draw for, but I didn't bring the stuff in here with me. So I'll draw for that next time. But I mailed out all the prizes that I was behind on, so everybody should have their giveaway prizes by now, and I hope that you are enjoying them. I don't have a giveaway prepared for today because I decided to record this kind of on the spur of the moment since it had been so long. But I'll try to get back into the routine of doing that next time. Willie, muffins is allowed. Anyway, so, yeah. I forgot to mention, my pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm going to start making sure I include that. And happy Pride Month, everybody. It is Pride Month, and I am proud to be here with you. So, yeah, and Willie's got the fidgets. He's got the fidgets. So, that's where you can find us on social media. There's our giveaway information. We have a couple of make-alongs going on. We have the Amigurumi Smackdown. If you're interested in making amigurumis, you can post those on the Ravelry group. You can also post them with hashtags on Instagram, and you can put them in the Facebook group as well. There is the BAP, the Year of the BAP, the Big A project. I have not been working on my BAP at all. We may have to run that into next year because I have been doing other stuff, which I will talk about in finished objects. I have been crafting, but it has been a slightly different focus. So, and I wrote a book. So that's my crafting. But anyway, so we're going to move on now and talk about finished objects. And on my finished objects, all I have are pictures because you'll see why. Okay, so Willie got down, but he keeps shaking the table here, so if it looks like I'm having an earthquake, that's why. We've got a pretty nice little thunderstorm going on outside right now, and my house is in chaos and disarray because I have decided to pull all the junk out of the spare bedroom and go through it with a fine-tooth comb and get rid of a lot of stuff. It is amazing the things that you keep when people die. I am a sentimental person in a way, but I am also not. I went through when people die, I don't know how it is everywhere, but here the funeral home gives you this zipper bag, and it's got all the flower cards in it. It's got the pages. It's got your little sign-in book and the pages. and it's got all the extra little leaflets that they give out at the funeral. I had 4 of those, one for each my grandma and grandpa, and one for both my parents. I didn't need those. My grandparents have been gone since the 90s, and my parents have been gone for 10 years. I didn't need those. So I went through, and that light just turned itself off. Maybe I hope the cat did that, or my house is haunted. I went through, I kept one of each one of the leaflets for my family members, and everything else has to go away. Old paperwork, like, I know you have to keep some, and I kept what I felt like was important, but there was all kinds of old paperwork. There was all kinds of, my mother used to like to sing at her church, and you can buy these tapes that have instrumental only of certain songs on it, and she liked to sing with those. So she had probably 30 of these in some shoe boxes with the words written out. Now, yes, that's my mother's writing, and I'm very glad to have it. So I kept one. I kept one tape and one, this is not about finished objects, but I'm telling you anyway, and one set of her note cards. The rest of them I put together, and when I took it to the donation place, I showed them what it was, and I'm hoping that they'll keep everything together, and someone who might enjoy them will find them all, which would be... That was a little close. A little lightning, kind of close. But anyway, so... yeah, so that has been taking up most of my time for the past week. Now, the edits got turned in on the book. Right now, it is in technical editing, which is like grammar, punctuation, all that kind of stuff, and artwork, rendering the artwork. I have been sending it out to people to read it for blurbs, and so I have been doing that as well, and so we've been taking care of all that. So... that has been taking up most of my time. I am also teaching summer school. I decided to teach all 3 summer sessions this year to make a little bit of extra money, try to pay off some stuff, and I have managed to pay off a couple of things so far. I still haven't, I don't know if I told y'all the saga of my gas line, but in brief, my gas line got cut about in the middle of April, middle to the end of April. The people who live behind me were, I don't want to say they cut it on purpose, but I'm pretty sure they cut it on purpose because we've had a lot of trouble with them. And anyway, so they, oh, you hung up? Okay. So they cut my gas line, and I haven't had gas, which meant I haven't had a cook stove or the heater, which doesn't really matter, but no cook stove since the middle of April. And I finally got a hold of some people because it has to be done by a certified plumber. What we've decided, they would not allow me access to fix it. These people are just horrible. They're horrible. And I have lots of reasons to really have a seething hatred for them, which I do. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that I have the good Christian ethos of turn the other cheek, because I'm not a Christian, which most of y'all know that. And I don't turn the other cheek when you do the things that these people have done. I admire anybody who has that patience and ability. That ain't me, and I don't have that. But at any rate, so they are terrible people, and so we have decided to just route our gas line. Mr. Ray and I are going in together, and we're going to move both of our gas lines because he has a turkey farm north of me, and his gas line runs across their front yard too. So we're just going to route our gas lines around them. They only have 1 acre. It's going to take about 500 feet to move my gas line, and about 700 feet to move his. So we're in the process of getting that dealt with right now. So hopefully soon I'll be able to start cooking again, which would be really nice. Again, this has nothing to do with finished objects. So maybe I should just take this part out and call it something else. So maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe it's just kind of a catch-up section. So yeah, we'll just call this the catch-up section, and if you don't want to see it, you can go on to finished objects. But at any rate, so we've been in the midst of that. The book edits are done. I had to finish the end of the semester as well. And then we had the Enchanted Fair, which I did a haul video from Enchanted. I did not do a haul video from Harmony in the Hollow. And maybe I should have, maybe I will, I don't know. But Enchanted went really well. We had a lot of people at it. It went super great, and I was very happy about that. Then we had Harmony in the Hollow. I taught at Spirit Quest. So there's been a lot going on that I haven't talked about, but I'm back. So anyway, so now we'll do finished objects. That was a little catch up. Sorry about that. So finished objects, I don't have any finished objects here because they were all for other purposes. And so I will just talk about them. So the first thing that I finished, you saw a little bit of it in progress, was my dragon. The dragoon pattern is by Opal Luna from Fiber Magic Crochet. It is available through her Facebook group. It's free. I believe it's free. And you can go on there and make it. It was a very simple make. I made some modifications to it. I put like little blowholes on his nose because my friend Krista had done that with a dragon that she had made. And I made him a little wizard's hat, and I made him a little bag to carry things in. And I gave him as a gift to Joel. So I'll put a picture of him in progress here, and then I will put a picture of Joel with oh, he really liked him, and it's very sweet. It was very touching. So yay. You'll notice in the picture he's also wearing a witch's hat, which I also made because I have been making witch's hats to help with the vending. They have some big events coming up. In fact, they're at a big event right now in St. Louis or near St. Louis called Reconnection. And it's a music festival, but they also have all kinds of workshops and classes and stuff. So I may apply to it next year to do an astronomy program. We'll see. But at any rate, so yeah. Plus, Mystic South is coming up in about 6. Well, we're about 5 weeks out from Mystic South, so I'm really excited about getting to go there. And so I've been making witches hats, and so. Yeah, so I learned how to make them, and I cut out about 35, and I think I've got about 22 of them made. So I'm going to insert some pictures of my witches hats that I have made here for you to look at. And yeah, so we had just gone to a festival. I went with him to a festival in Eureka Springs because his partner, Rachel, had been in Oklahoma City at a festival seeing one of her people, and so I went with him to Eureka Springs to the KC Spirit and Paranormal Fair, and it was a lot of fun, but the fair was super slow, but we had a good time. So anyway, so we yeah, so I made these witches hats, and I've had a lot of fun with them because I had to buy the wire to put in them, and I had to buy the heat and bond to put the brims together. Everything else is stuff that I've had, vintage trims, fabrics, all this stuff. It's been a lot of fun decorating them and making them, so it's been a nice challenge for me to use up a lot of this stuff. Right now, my craft room is in utter chaos and disarray. That's going to be my next project. I've got 3 bags of fabric to take to my friend Laura, who quilts. And then I need to straighten up because I need to start working on my dress for Mystic South. I'm going to make another one of the cashmerette Holyoke sundresses for Mystic South. So, yeah. Anyway, so those are my finished objects. Those are what I got done this time. And so I'm going to move on now and talk about works in progress. Okay, so my only work in progress that I'll share is my Kelvin Hall shawl. I have been spending some time working on that. It is a pattern by Kirsty from Grenade Creations, and they wrote this great social knitting, very potato chippy pattern And I am, Baxter, son, your claws are just not what I need at this moment. I'm using Leon Alexander yarn. Unfortunately, Leon, they are no longer dyeing yarn, but this is some of their Loki yarn, which was named after the shop dog of the Twisted Pearl down in Conway. And I have made quite a lot of progress on this. I have been working on it sort of as my planetarium show knitting and my meeting knitting and such. So it's a V shape, and I'm doing both arms at the same time. Now, one thing that I learned about this is you need to make sure you don't stop in the middle of the V, because if you do, you won't know which way you're going. So if you're working on it and you stop in the middle of the V, you can't tell which way you came from unless you have marked it in some way. And foolish me did not put a progress keeper, surprisingly, even though I have 10 million of them on this. But it's okay. So this is how far I am. You can see there where my V split is. Now I'm doing both arms at the same time. So my plan is just to knit up this ball of yarn. It's a little bit more than what the actual pattern calls for. I'm doing the fingering weight or 4-ply version, which is a little bit more than what the pattern calls for, but I want to use up all of the yarn, as much of the yarn as possible, I should say. Yeah. So I got that. That is what I've been working on. Now, I do have some other little projects that I'm working on, but they are not in position to show you yet. So I am not going to show you. We'll cut here and talk about future crafting. Okay, so for future crafting, I need to get back to my sweaters that I'm working on. I haven't touched them in months, and I was looking at my yellow and orange one the other day, my Saturday morning sweater. I'm so close to being done with it, so I need to pull that out and work on it soon. But for future crafting, I had mentioned I'm going to make the Holyoke maxi dress, sundress again. So this is the fabric that I'm going to make it out of. This is a piece of batik fabric that I got from Mama Gina. It's the perfect blue for my eyes, and it's got these beautiful elephants on it, and that pattern lends itself really well to pattern matching. So I am going to try to make that dress out of this piece of fabric. I think this is really beautiful, and there's quite a lot of it. So although there's part of me that wants to save this because it is a wall hanging and use it for my camping setup instead. I don't know. I'm going to have to think about that a little bit, because now that I'm thinking about the camping setup, I don't know. I'm going to have to think about that a little bit, because I bought a pop-up tent, one of the pop-ups, and I'm for my living room space for when we're camping at events, and I want to decorate it. And this might lend itself well to that. So I'm going to have to think about that just a little bit, because this sure is pretty. But at any rate, it is wall hangings or sheets or something that someone has sewn together. So I'm going to have to give that some consideration. I'm going to lay the pattern out on it first and see if I can get the pattern matched up really well. And if I can't, I've got plenty of fabric I could make myself a really pretty dress out of. And I have pretty dresses. I don't necessarily need to make another one to wear to Mystic South. So yeah, you may have just seen me change my mind on this. Anyway, the next thing that I want to make is this little guy. I made one of these a million years ago. This is Rumple Quilt Skins, and these are quilted stuffed animals. And I want to make one of these as part of Joel's birthday present. His birthday is July 14th, so it's a couple of weeks after mine. And I want to make this as part of his birthday gift. So, yeah. Yay. I've got some batik fabrics ordered that should be here. That's in oranges and reds and browns. And I've already made it once. I made myself one a long time ago. So this is an older pattern, but they're still in print. You can still get them. There's giraffe, and there's a turtle, and there's an elephant, and there's all kinds of animals, and they're super cute. So those are my future crafting projects. So we'll move on now and talk about science. Okay, so what's going on campus? Not a lot. Well, I'm teaching online asynchronously, so I am not going to campus at all right now. I do have the Teaching Excellence Institute coming up in about a week or so, a little over a week. So I'll be going down there for that. I am doing a couple of speaking things, talking to some science camps and such coming up. So I've got that going on. But other than that, I'm kind of avoiding campus, to be quite honest. I had a pretty frank conversation with my my department chair, and said, look, this is where I'm at in my career. These are the things I want to focus on. And frankly, I have things outside of this building that I want to work on, whether it's with CETL or whether it's with the things that I want to do in my personal life, because I have a personal life now, and that's important to me. So we did talk about that a little bit. So that's kind of the direction that I'm going. I'm doing more work with the Center for Excellence in Teaching, things of that nature, which is really where my heart lies anyway. So, sorry, I'm in the midst of donating my old Toyota Corolla to NPR, and I keep getting these texts about they're supposed to pick it up this morning, although it's storming right now, about how to fill out the paperwork and all this stuff. So, hopefully that's the last one. But at any rate, so that's kind of, I'm wanting to focus on other things at work, the work that I'm doing with the Center for Excellence in Teaching and the work that I'm doing in that kind of socio-emotional skills for students. I'm doing a new class prep in the fall, which will be fun, but it is a little bit more work. So anyway, so yeah, I am, that's what's going on campus right now. And yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit on a science sprinkle about a couple of stones. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about, I've been researching my talk for Mystic South, and it's about the science and geology of different crystals that people have metaphysical uses for. And this is Arkansas quartz. Now, this is a quartz cluster that has been coated with titanium. It is not the pure quartz. Joel and I went quartz mining. We have a vein of quartz here in Arkansas that runs kind of diagonally across the southwestern part of the state. And some of the best, most highly prized quartz crystal, both for commercial applications and for metaphysical applications, come from Arkansas. So we have a really nice vein of clear quartz down there. There's also some smoky quartz. The smoky quartz happens because the clear quartz gets exposed to radiation, probably from stones beneath the surface. You can also create it in the lab too. But we got to go down there and go crystal mining, and basically what you find you get to keep, right? So it's fun, it's hot and dirty, and my inner 6-year-old geologist was happier than a pig in mud. I was having a great time. It was wonderful. And I'll put in a video at the end of this clip of us mining, pulling out a big, actually this cluster right here, I have it sitting here on the table. So part of this cluster right here is what you're seeing in that video get pulled out. So you can see the matrix down here, which is the sandstone that the quartz grew on, and then all these little quartz crystal points here on this. So I've actually got the video of us extracting that cluster. So I'll put that in. But this quartz crystals are hexagonal. They have a crystal. What makes a crystal is the geometry in the atomic geometry. So amorphous stones, rocks, mean the atoms are just organized every which way. Crystals mean they're on a geometric patterned lattice. Now there's all different kinds. There's cubic, and there's trigonal, and there's orthorhombic, and there's all these different ones. Quartz happens to be hexagonal, and if you look at the shape of the crystal, you can kind of see that hexagon shape, right? So that's what makes quartz, even though it's got the same chemical structure as other things. That's what makes quartz crystals. Okay, now another thing that I wanted to show you is while we were at the event, one of Joel's favorite stones is labradorite. And it's a very interesting stone. He traded for this beautiful labradorite bowl. And as I turn it there, you can see that flash that's in it right here. not the light being reflected, but the flash, that's called labradorescence. They sometimes call it fire, and you can kind of see it as I move it around there. That happens because labradorite actually has twinning crystals in it. It has two crystals that are growing off the same point, and the light entering the crystal structure reflects off these different twinning points and gives you this flash. So he traded for this bowl with one of the other vendors that was there because he loves labradorite, but then he ended up leaving it with me because he traded for something for me also, which was this. This is septarian stone, and septarian stone is a type of stone where it's a combination of yellow calcite, brown aragonite, and gray limestone with some white or clear barite shot through it. Now, the thing about septarian stone is when you shine an ultraviolet light on it, these joins look green. It's really kind of cool. Okay, so he traded for both the bowl and for this stone because he thought I would find this super cool. But then he was playing with it, and he had put the stone in the bowl and started to spin it, and because of the shape of the stone, it makes these really cool patterns, right? So when you spin it, it makes these really cool patterns. He's like, I think those need to stay together, so I want them to be at your house. So that we have something at your house that, you know, he has some other stuff that he's left here, but he wanted that stone to be there, that bowl to be there. So I am the happy possessor right now of that. But at any rate, you can kind of see the calcite structure in here, and then this is limestone, and then the brown aragonite. So, and this is all how it deposited wherever it was formed. It deposited in these layers. And then this one has obviously been polished to make this spherical shape. But, yeah, so I've been learning a lot about rocks and crystals in preparing for my talk. And because he's really interested in them too, he's been learning right along with me. Now, he knows a lot more than I do about like the metaphysical purposes of stuff because he's been selling them through his business for so long. But I'm coming at it from the scientific point of view, and we're kind of melding those two ideas. And that's what my whole talk for Mystic South is about. I actually had somebody ask me if any of my talks were online. So if y'all are interested, I have PowerPoints that I could record a voiceover or record me presenting on Zoom. And if y'all are interested in seeing those talks, once Mystic South is over, I'll put all my weather talk and my astronomy of astrology talk up and my rock talk if y'all want to see them. That might be kind of fun. So I'm still working on the tarot workshop. I have some, I'm about ready to pull the trigger on saying let's do it because I had quite a bit of interest. So I want to make sure it's good. It probably won't be until after Mystic South. It'll probably be in late July or early August before I go back to school. And it'll be one day, and we'll just have this workshop, couple-hour workshop where we talk about just kind of I don't want to go through all the cards, but I want to talk about how you can take ownership of your deck and quit worrying about if you're doing it right or wrong, because if you're doing it right, basically, is my philosophy. But at any rate, so yeah, so that's pretty much what's going on campus. So we're going to move on and talk about farm stuff.
Okay, tell me when you're going to start it.
I started it. Oh, that was pretty. There you go. He got her. Oh, wow. Cool.
Isn't that cool?
Okay, well, a lot has happened on the farm. Some good, some not so good since last I recorded. I will start out first with I lost chips. For those of you who have not followed me for a while, I have had a horse named Chips. His tattoo is actually right here. He was a beautiful bay, very sweet, loving horse. These people who live behind me I'm not saying they did it, but magically a cable appeared in my pasture, and it looked like a guy wire cable off of a utility pole, and he got it wrapped around his leg, and he just about cut his leg off. And one of the things that happens when horses injure their legs is they form what's called proud flesh. And I had been fighting with it, trying to deal with it, and I just could not get ahead of it. And he developed an infection that stopped his blood from clotting. And one of the things about proud flesh is it's got a lot of capillaries in it. And it was just a bad day. It was a very bad day, and I won't go into a lot of details, but it was a terrible day. And I was on the phone with Joel Walling, and my friends Tim and Taco came up and helped me take care of him. It was a very, very bad day. And that's all I'm going to say. But I love him, and I miss him a lot. And I know now that he is in the Summerland where he is able to run and buck and be happy. And we'll just go with that. Okay. I also have decided that I got rid of my chickens, geese, and rabbits. I felt like they were an anchor around my neck rather than a joyful thing. My friend Tamara was gracious enough to take them and add them to her farmstead. So they are in a loving, wonderful home where they're getting to interact with all kinds of kids. And that's great. I have also decided that I'm going to cut down my cattle herd. I had about 50 head of cattle. I've already sold 11. I'm going to cut down to less than 20. That's my goal, is to get down to less than 20 head of mama cows. And that way I can manage them more easily, and I can still sell beef if I want to. And yeah, it's time. It's time for a change of focus. I've been feeling it for a little while, and I had to frame it as, I was trying to frame it as failure, when really, if I want to turn this place into an educational retreat center at some point in the future, I'm going to have to do this anyway. So this is me moving toward the future, is how I've had to reframe it, and that made it easier. It's going to be very hard to sell off some of my older cattle, because I know ultimately they're not going to end up in a very good place, but you know, let me take a moment to be rather blunt and graphic. My dad would never sell our old cattle because he felt like they deserved to die here. But the death they often face here is not a pleasant one. And I don't know that it's not more humane to let them go to slaughter, let's just be blunt, than it is for them to lay out here and die. I don't know. That's the conflict that I face as a cattle farmer and also as an omnivore, right? That's part of the omnivore's dilemma, right? So I've had to struggle. I've struggled with that for a lot of years. And what I have decided is I would rather them go on and be dealt with, have to deal with that part of their life very quickly and humanely than to stay here and possibly suffer. So after thinking about it for quite a while, something changed when Chips died. Something inside me changed, and I was finally able to understand that this is not failure, that this is me moving in a direction that I have wanted to go, and it's setting myself up for future success. So by the end of summer, my goal is to be down to less than 20 head of cattle. So, having said all that, I've got some people that are going to buy some of my young heifers. I've got, my friend Tamara is wanting a cow or a couple of cows. So I'm probably going to pick out a couple of my younger ones and just give them to her to let them have a good, happy home. And then I'll see what I've got left and decide which 20 get to stay. It's not an easy decision, but it's the right decision. And I have felt lightness since I have decided to do it. Part of that is also I want to be able to travel next year with the book and be able to go and do things. And I want to be able to travel and go do things with Joel. When he travels to shows and Rachel goes to a different show, I want to be able to go with him and help him and hang out with him. When I get chosen to speak at an event and he chooses to go with me to that event to vend, I want to be able to not have to worry too much about what's going on back here. So the fewer animals I have. Now the horses and the dogs and the cats and the donkeys and the pig are not going anywhere. They are staying. But they are relatively easy to take care of. I have a very good friend who is willing to take, these cats are just going wild today, I guess because it's stormy outside, who's willing to take care of the cats and the dogs for me and does a very good job. So I'm set on that aspect. Dealing with cattle and horses when I'm traveling is easy in the wintertime because I just put out a lot of extra hay and just have somebody come by and check on them. So I think that I'm setting myself up for futures for success rather than feeling like this is a failure. So, yeah. Willie, come on. Okay. Everybody wants to see you. They thought you had retired from podcasting, so now they know you're still here. You've just been on sabbatical. So, yeah. So that's kind of what's been going on here on the farm. Like I said, I'm doing a major clear out of stuff right now. You know, the house is what the house is, and I've talked about this before. Once the property is paid for, which should be within the next 3 years, everything will be paid off. I want to save up some money and then decide how to move forward. I do want to start an educational retreat center. I'm trying to decide, I have a retirement account that I had when I was in Oklahoma, and by the time the property is paid for, that account will be 30 years old. I'm trying to decide, do I cash that out and take the hit and build a house the way I want it somewhere else on the property and then renovate this space as my classroom retreat center? Or do I renovate this space to live in? And I'm leaning toward the first option simply because this would be a good retreat center space. I could have bunk beds in the bedrooms. I could have the 2 bathrooms renovated, and then these large open areas could be classroom spaces. And then I could finish the garage out as an outdoor classroom area. So that's kind of the direction I'm leaning right now. And that, that's kind of the long-term, within the next 10 years project. But plus there's a lot of ghosts in this house that I don't know that I want to live with the rest of my life. And I was talking with Joel about the bathroom debacle that we had when I tried to renovate my bathroom a few years ago. And I made my mind up then I wasn't going to sink any more money into this house until I decided what the future of it was. So I'm just kind of limping along right now on it. I mean, it's, I'm doing what I can and what I have to, but I'm not going to do any major renovation on it until the property's paid off and I decide how I want to move forward. So that's been part of what I've been thinking about lately. So yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. Yeah, so I guess we'll move on if the cats will stop shaking the table, and we'll move on with a few final thoughts. Okay, so my final thought today is kind of about legacy and about what happens moving forward and sort of endings and beginnings. I guess that's where my mind has been lately. I heard an interview, the Glennon Doyle podcast, We Can Do Hard Things, interviewed Andrea Gibson. And Andrea Gibson is a spoken word poet who I adore. They have recently found out that they have a recurrence of cancer, ovarian cancer, which is metastasized to their liver. And the prognosis is not great, but they have been talking about their journey. And they were reading this poem. They read this poem. I wish these cats would stop shaking this table. They read this poem on their podcast, and I was enthralled by how beautiful the sentiment was. So I wanted to share it with you. And see if it has the same impact on you. So it's by Andrea Gibson. It's called For the Days I Stop Wanting a Body. Imagine when a human dies, the soul misses the body, actually grieves the loss of its hands and all they could hold, misses the throat closing shy, reading out loud on the first day of school. Imagine the soul missing the stubbed toe, the loose tooth, the funny bone, The soul still asks, why does the funny bone do that? It's just weird. Imagine the soul misses the thirsty garden cheeks watered by grief, misses how the body could sleep through a dream. What else can sleep through a dream? What else can laugh? What else can wrinkle the smile's autograph? Imagine the soul misses each falling eyelash waiting to be wished, missed the wrist screaming away the blade. The soul misses the lisp, the stutter, the limp. The soul misses the holy bruise, blue from that army of blood rushing to the wound's side. When a human dies, the soul searches the universe for something blushing, something shaking in the cold, something that scars, sweeps the universe for patience worn thin, the last nerve fighting for its life, the voice box aching to be heard. The soul misses the way the body would hold another body, and not be two bodies, but one pleading God doubled in grace. The soul misses how the mind told the body, you have fallen from grace. And the body said, erase every scripture that doesn't have a pulse. There isn't a single page in the Bible that can wince, that can clumsy, that can freckle, that can hunger. Imagine the soul misses hunger, emptiness, rage, the fist that was never taught to curl, curls, the teeth that were never taught to clench, clench. The body that was never taught to make love makes love, like a hungry ghost digging its way out of the grave. The soul misses the unforever of old age, the skin that no longer fits. The soul misses every single day that the body was sick, that the now it forced, the here it built from the fever. The fever is how the body prays, how it burns and begs for another average day. The soul misses the legs creaking up the stairs, misses the fear that climbed up the vocal cords to curse the wheelchair. The soul misses what the body could not let go. What else could hold on that tightly to everything? What else could hear the chain of a swing set and fall to its knees? What else could touch a screen door and taste lemonade? What else could come back from a war and not come back, but still try to live, still try to lullaby? When a human dies, the soul moves through the universe trying to describe how a body trembles when it's lost, softens when it's safe, how a wound would heal given nothing but time. Do you understand? Nothing in space can imagine it. No comet, no nebula, no ray of light can fathom the landscape of awe, the heat of shame, the fingertips pulling the first gray hair and throwing it away. I can't imagine it, the stars say. Tell us again about goosebumps. Tell us again about pain. I think that's pretty profound as we live in a society that tries to say that aging and bodies, changing with time are something we should avoid. I don't think I ever thought of it that way until I heard that poem being read and about the beautifulness of mortality and of a finite lifespan. So anyway, that's kind of a strange note to end on, but here I am. I'm glad that I'm back. I'm glad that Willie has decided to grace us with his presence, even though he's very sleepy because it's raining outside. You got eye boogers, buddy. But yeah, so we are gonna get back to our cleaning here. And until I see y'all again, y'all be good to each other and take care of each other. And what, Willie? Huh? Peace out, y'all. Bye. Bye-bye. Say bye-bye, Willie. Yes, say bye-bye.